Okay, so we're live. This is amazing. Michele, thank you so much for being here. You have flown in from Baltimore, and you're in the rainy city of Atlanta.
I know, it's okay. It's raining in Baltimore too.
Yeah.
I think we actually got a little snow yesterday.
Wow.
So
Wow.
exciting.
So for those of you who don't know, Michele Gay is co-founder of Safe and Sound Schools, and that's safeandsoundschools.org if you want to visit the website and support, which you should, and we'll be dropping that link below. And Michele is the mom of 3 daughters, one of whom is tied to Sandy Hook. So Michele, if you wouldn't mind just giving us some background into that experience.
Absolutely. It's a day that I talk about a lot. It's a day that I was just an ordinary mom, like many other moms and many other parents in our community. We were getting our kids up. It was a Friday, so everybody was excited. We were just getting up and getting ready for school like we normally would. But it's a day that really changed our lives forever. It's the day that we sent 3 girls, to school, and we were only able to come home with the 2. We lost our Josephine that day at Sandy Hook Elementary.
And thank you for being able to speak so openly about this. I can't even begin to imagine, and we'll talk about that a little later on, is like, how do we support you and those families, unfortunately a large number of families that have been through something like this, because it's not necessarily what we might think we should do. And it's interesting, as we were getting ready for this Facebook Live, trying to figure out, what do you wear? And I had this dress, and you said that purple is Josephine's favorite color.
That purple. I mean, all shades of purple would do for our purple girl, but the royal purple it was her signature color. So it's I can't tell you how many times it happens that I'll be getting ready for an event like this. We'll be busy. I'll be just about to take the stage or whatever, and I walk out and like there's, I don't know, a big purple display, or the person who's coming out beside me is head to toe purple. It's just uncanny.
That's amazing. And it's over in the corner, we're hiding all the stuff, so it looks nice.
Yeah.
Like I had a bright coral sweater, like literally last minute.
Which also looks fabulous.
Well,
right
it was a little shabby, but thank you. It's shabby chic. But I saw this in the back of my car. I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna let's just go with this purple. So like, it's a thing.
It's a thing. It's a thing. Absolutely. Little winks from Joey.
Yes. Well, thank you, Joey. You are an amazing soul, and we are doing this in your honor and in so many other children's honor. So let's talk about what you're doing now. You have gone through an unimaginable tragedy. We're coming up on 6 years now.
Yeah.
It was December 14th, 2012. And so we're about 6 years out. And since then, you and Alyssa have embarked on Safe and Sound Schools. So what is Safe and Sound Schools?
So we're an organization that connects people. It's around the collaborative goal of making our schools safer. It's really quite simple, about preventing, better responding to, and helping to recover school communities from any type of crisis that they might face. Obviously, in this day and age, there are a lot of discussions around the potential for tragedy like what we experienced at Sandy Hook. But the more we talk to people, the more we work with schools and communities around the country, it's big. The things that our school communities are facing, from bullying issues to cyber safety issues, online safety, facing threats of violence, day-to-day issues, bus safety, parking lot safety, just so many things that are imperative, so many aspects of safety that we have to provide in order to make sure that our schools are that place where our kids are safe to learn, where they're happy and comfortable and taking risks and building relationships.
And just in the time we spent together earlier today, you were going through at least 6 facets of just core tenets of how to do that from a community standpoint, a mental health standpoint, an actual physical locks and sort of thing,
Right.
type of thing, and then protocol for after. And there is so much that we do not consider.
Absolutely.
But thankfully, safeandsoundschools.org provides that thought leadership and next steps for schools and communities.
That's what it's all about. And you know, I think when you come to our site, and there's a new website releasing
Yay!
any day now, you know, you can really dive in on a lot of different levels. There are levels where students can engage with our youth council program. Our parent program is coming out very soon. There are just quick tools that you can grab and bring in for a conversation at school. And then there are some real deep dives. You know, you can join us for a workshop or a summit. We're launching a big national summit in Houston this March. So lots of different levels for engagement. There's something there for everyone, but it really is about making sure that everyone is there and that we are looking at all the bits and pieces of school safety, that we're taking that comprehensive approach.
That's so key. So I'm going to do a little thing right now on my phone because in Facebook land and social media land, it's all about engagement. The more you the more you comment, if you share, the more people see this. So it really is important. So I'm going to do my part and open up my Facebook app and go to the Bark is Live now. And hopefully the volume won't come on and make this super awkward. But I'm going to share this from my phone because hopefully my friends, you'll tune in and you'll share because it would just mean the world. So let me just hit share real quick and share now. Cool. Technology posting. It's posted. Great.
It's fabulous. I'm coming along. I really am.
So great. That's done. Let's talk about what parents can do right now. Anybody who's watching right now, what can you do? You can go to safeandsoundschools.org. What else? What can you do as a parent right now?
So I think conversations are key, and there's simple ways to get started, whether it's a conversation at the bus stop with other parents, whether it's taking the time to have coffee with an administrator, a school counselor, the school psychologist, finding out who the SRO is, if there is an SRO in your district.
Which stands for School Resource Officer.
Exactly. You know, just learning the jargon, right? Getting comfortable with what already exists in your community. That's part of what we call the assessment process. And once you have an idea, even just a preliminary idea, you can start thinking, well, I see a couple things missing that I would like to see, or I have questions that I would like answered. And that leads us into the next phase which is taking action.
Yes.
Starting something new, trying something different. You know, looking for solutions, looking for new program ideas. And that's something that we are uniquely blessed. We have just been out there pounding the pavement for the last 6 years. And one thing we're really rich in is these deep connections with other organizations and other phenomenal people that are dedicated to making sure that we've got a lot on the menu, a lot, kind of on the buffet table that we can offer to schools.
And for people who are teachers or administrators, IT directors, superintendents, you're a member of the PTO or PTA, and you're watching this right now, you might also be a parent, but you have a unique insight and power into making things happen. So what can they do right now?
Well, our parent leaders are key. We're actually releasing a parent program imminently. We've spent a lot of time working with parents across the country and hearing a lot of the same issues. You know, we have ideas, we have concerns, we have questions, but we don't really know quite where we fit in, or what's okay to ask and what's okay to know, things like that are barriers really to parent involvement. And parent involvement is essential. It's just so key in this process. So that parent program, we hope, will provide a lot of opportunities, a lot of ideas for entering that conversation, for getting involved. And I'm going to continue with the conversation piece because conversations with our students are essential. You know, conversations with your children. I like to say that the best parenting I do is usually in front of the windshield, because it's sometimes taking away the eye contact makes it possible for us to cover some tricky territory. And
you have a captive audience.
You do.
You can't go anywhere.
They're strapped in. It is the law. And so, there's nowhere to go. But we cover some really important, stuff and talk about some really important safety issues, school safety issues in particular. And then that better informs me when I want to go in and have conversations with teachers, with staff members, with school leaders as well.
So on that note of having conversations with your children, you went through a very emotionally intense, and I'm so thankful for it, review of that day. And one of the things I wrote down that you said that we tell children is to get out, keep out, hide out.
Mm-hmm.
So those three facets of when you're in a room, what are the ways that you think you can get out? Is it just the door? Is it taking the chair and smashing the window? So talk about those three facets.
You know, they all come from kids. We looked at the way some of our precious survivors from the classrooms that were attacked, from classrooms throughout the building, including my fourth grade daughter at the time, as well as conversations with kids all across the country, and things that were universally acceptable and manageable. And believe me, we did a lot of work with school psychologists, school counselors, child development specialists in refining this language and how we can talk to kids. But some of those actions were, you know, if my space is unsafe, I am empowered. I do have things I can do.
Yes.
And they're really simple things. Get out. If I need to, if my space is unsafe, how can I get out? How many ways can I get out? And let's talk about them now while it's safe and there's nothing crazy happening. I want to pre-plan all the different pathways out. You know, it's kind of a mapping activity for the kids. You're mapping out, you know, possible exits. You know, how do I get to safety? How do I get to a safer space? And there's also, you know, my room is safe. I'm hearing maybe from an announcement or noise in the hallway that it might not be safe out there. So I want to know that I can keep this place safe. I want to keep out danger. So what are the ways that we as a class, as a group, or individually can make sure that this room stays safe and danger stays out? So get out and keep out, and also hide out is an option. I think one of the important things that we try to always share with people is when you pick a choice, a decision, an action, just know that you're not married to it. You know, if your circumstances change, have the flexibility like you would anywhere else in life to change your route, to change your path. So, you know, if you've chosen that you're going to hide out and that option isn't safe any longer, then you can choose something else. And I think that flexible thinking is critically important as we teach the life skills of safety to our kids.
100%. The image of the shattered glass from the front of Sandy Hook Elementary is really sticking with me today. And just hearing the account of the path through the school and sort of the things that unfolded brought to light, again, safety measures. Mm-hmm. What can we learn?
And they're almost all very basic things.
Yeah.
Right.
Talk about some of those.
Yeah. So you know, simple things like in our case, access control.
Mm-hmm.
Just making sure that all of the wonderful people that we love that were in that building, our children, our teachers, our dedicated parent volunteers and staff members, that they're safe, you know, that we have a basic standard of care, that someone who's not allowed to or supposed to be in that space where our beloved kids, teachers, and staff members are, you know, they can't get in. We have some basic safeguards in place. We have locked doors, as we did at Sandy Hook. You know, we have protocols, we have steps that folks have to go through before they're allowed access, and that we rethink, you know, we were a community and continue to be a community in Sandy Hook and Newtown where everybody valued safety, everybody loved and cared for one another, and by and large, I think none of us really imagined that there might be someone who was so disturbed and was of such a different mindset that they would do something like break a glass, you know, break a window to get in. So thinking differently, stepping outside of our reality and what's normal and acceptable to us, and understanding that it might not always be that way with someone else, and we need to be prepared for that. So locking doors, communication systems, yes. You know, options to get to safety if your space is unsafe, or keep your space safe if you need to do that. So
one of the things that was very chilling was the fact that the locks were on the outside mm-hmm. of the classroom doors. And so what have you seen over the past 6 years in terms of change of just little things like that to help keep classrooms safer?
I think for many of our school communities, that was the jaw on the floor moment. You know, that and how simple it was to gain access into our locked school building. Yeah. You know, I think it was a painful light bulb moment for so many people. When we build schools now, we build them with doors that lock from the inside, and we are thankfully building most of our buildings with classrooms with doors. When I was teaching, I taught for half of my career in a room that wasn't even a room. You know, it was it was just a large pod with furniture that kind of partitioned off our sections. So, rethinking those spaces in terms of protecting the very valuable people inside those spaces is ever so important. But just making sure that the simple technology that you might have in your home, the ability to lock your door quickly and safely from inside, we need to have that as well with our children and our teachers in school.
And you detailed, going back to the get out, keep out, hide out, it doesn't only relate to an active shooter situation. It's any sort of danger.
Life skills of safety,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
And so the idea is that those go with you wherever you go, just like the fire safety skills that we teach so beautifully in schools. Those are ingrained in people. People learn them in their classroom generally first, and then they take them home and they share those and make escape plans with their family.
Okay, we're back. That's the beauty of Wi-Fi and live broadcast.
It's real.
It is real. It's really happening really right now.
Right.
But I'm glad that we actually had a moment to take a break, because this is heavy stuff, man. Okay, so what I wanted to ask was, how can we as a community help families that have gone through something tragic like this? Just talk about that. How can we help you?
So I think the first and most important thing is what you just did.
Mm-hmm.
You just asked, right? And I think that you would find that the answer, if you ask me and my family, might be very different if you ask my co-founding partner, Alyssa Parker, and her family, and any other of the families of loss from our tragedy, or for that matter, the families of survivors and the families in the community. The ripples literally are just unbelievable. The ripples for this type of tragedy and how people have been affected by what took place on that day. So I think the most important thing is to not assume, right? That some of us gain our strength really quite literally in a ball under the covers, and it's okay.
Yeah,
I highly recommend it for all folks from time to time. And believe me, I indulge on a regular basis. But I think it really is different for everyone, and I think making sure that you're considerate of that and you're kind of taking your cues from other people as to where they are, and to understand that maybe if they're not where you think they should be, or it just doesn't work that way. Everyone is in the place where they are, trying to climb their way out of that difficult place, and it is different for everyone. I think just asking is probably the most important thing you can do, and you might be surprised by the answer that you get, but it is what it is. We're all very different people, and it's important to recognize that.
So do you feel comfortable kind of expressing what helps you in particular? Or is that more of a private thing?
Oh, I'm happy to. Yeah,
okay.
I'm happy to talk about that. I think different things on different days, but for the most part, I am very determined to take this pain and put it to purpose, to put it to work. That really helps me to see the light bulbs go off for other people, to see groups in a community that weren't talking before or had some kind of turkey thing happening, suddenly push up their sleeves and gather around the very real and difficult issues, have those difficult conversations. That's very gratifying for me. I just feel her smiling down, for sure. But I think if you were to ask my husband, for example, his take on things might be completely different. He's very focused on keeping our family safe and moving us forward and solid and providing that stability. So, for the most part, for me, it's work related. It's staying busy. It's staying active, connecting with people, and trying to be useful with what we've learned.
Man, I'm covered in chills, and I just can't thank you enough for giving this time to all of us, especially knowing that you really don't spend a lot of time on Facebook.
Right.
This is important.
She's holding my hand. You can't tell, but the whole time. No, it does help. The other thing I would say is, for me, is not going it alone.
Yeah.
This is totally uncharted territory. This is the last place I ever expected in my life to be. So finding good people to walk this walk with you and just walk beside you, keep you company, and help you, explore different things that you never thought would be helpful, but that you would be a part of. That's really important.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, thousands of people, if not tens of thousands of people, will see this. They will learn about Safe and Sound Schools. They will visit safeandsoundschools.org, and will help to further your mission, right? And that's what it's about at the end of the day.
It is. We need everyone.
We all, I think, are reasonably empowered, even young children, to say something, right? Like, we now know, like, if you see something, say something.
Yeah.
What can we do better to make sure something is done about it?
Absolutely. I would say, in the time that we've spent with communities, professional groups all across the country, by and large, we turned a corner 10 years ago, even more. People really do a good job of speaking up. They will say something, they will see something, they will say something. That campaign has been incredibly powerful. The real disconnect has been in the do something category.
Yeah.
So now what? And we've seen all too painfully what happens when it's reported and nothing ever comes of it, or the follow through isn't there, or the intervention, the mental health support services, go unserved to the individuals or the family that needs it. And so that's where we spend a lot of our time and attention with the experts that we work on, is making sure that the deep connections that we have with our school communities, the people that we serve, are really about teaching people to fish, so that when we leave, they feel good and solid, that they have a good start on building the infrastructure or reinforcing the infrastructure that they already have to really truly do something for anyone who's crying out for help, who appears to be in need, to make sure that that person is safe and the rest of the community can be safe.
To that point, it was not a surprise that Sandy Hook happened, or that Parkland happened. Like, there were signs.
There were.
And if you have the honor of hearing Michele speak, she'll take you through a story that will I can't even talk about it. But there were signs, and there are signs. There are signs all the time, and there are signs across social media. And if you are in a position that you see those and you don't do anything about it, that's no longer an option.
No, it is not. And we see less and less. In fact, what we see more and more, and I know we were looking at an example of it today, is just how amazing and courageous our young people, our families can be when they spot something, if they have a channel, if they have a trusted, individual or leader in the community that they can go to. What happens? And it's good stuff. The day gets saved. The needs of an individual get met, but it really is important that we develop those channels. It is not always as simple as see something, say something. There's a whole lot more to it.
We talked about empowering children with key takeaways for what to do if there's any kind of danger. We talked about empowering school administrators and teachers and parents. Let's talk about those first responders and how everybody is now a first responder.
Yeah, that's something we talk about a lot. That was a really eye-opening realization for me that day, is that, here we were in the midst of tragedy. I'm watching, people in plain clothes and sweatshirts and jammy pants running around the crisis scene for us. And that's what you will see time and time again, is that it's all hands on deck, and mid-crisis, until the cavalry does arrive, and they will, you can count on them. It's very often ordinary people. It might be a student, it might be a teacher, it might be a parent volunteer, or someone coming to deliver a package. We all really have to be prepared to protect ourselves, to do the right thing, and even to help and comfort someone else in the event of a crisis.
And a big thank you to the first responders that not only were there that day, but helped families like yours when it was time to move, or just in the,
and became part of our mission.
Yeah.
I mean, they're part of our families.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, they really are just it's been such an incredibly important part of our recovery process. People that were literally there hands-on to take care of us that day, almost all of them were in a uniform of some kind. And then beyond that, in this work with Safe and Sound Schools, we connect with professionals, law enforcement, fire, EMTs, and on, that weren't even there. They were thousands of miles away, and yet given the opportunity to stand with us, to learn with us, to support us. They're our most loyal, our most loyal family members in this thing that we call Safe and Sound Schools.
The thing I love about, there's so many things I love about Safe and Sound Schools, but one of the things I love is that it's a nonpartisan movement. No matter what your belief system is or how you feel about certain amendments or rights, like, it is something you can get behind.
Absolutely.
Everyone can get behind. And you and your team will go all across the country and speak to schools and parent groups and communities and inform them. And
there's not a state that we haven't reached,
Wow.
There's not, it's always been that way. I mean, we're inspired by our daughters, and the values and the ability to bring people together that those two had, and continue to have. But also, I think, inspired by the brave actions of the people that took care of us and how we took care of each other that day. It didn't matter all those boundary lines, all of those, belief systems or politics or any of those things that sometimes get in the way of really being a good community and being there for one another. Those things evaporated instantly. I mean, Newtown is a really special place, and everyone that was there in those most critical moments, they all checked their agendas at the door, they all checked their politics, and they were just there to help, and that's what this is all about.
That's so beautiful, and very encouraging. I know there's a lot of things in the news right now that are very discouraging, and so we're thankful for just humanity, right? The good of humanity. You mentioned communication being key,
Mm-hmm.
and something that we can improve upon. And also, it was super chilling. You showed a tweet from the principal.
Our beloved principal had this beautiful tweet of our beautiful school community, just prior to the tragedy, and it showed everybody practicing, drilling, and she spoke about safety and how important it was to her. She was a champion of safety in our community, and really, if I'm being honest, we were doing more at that moment in time than I think most elementary schools across the country. But so we take inspiration from her as well. She's a champion, a model for us as well, and I think it just goes to show that we can always do better. We, with fresh eyes, with fresh perspectives. That's why this multidisciplinary, all hands on deck, everybody pitching and collaborating is just so essential to safety.
And so, again, if you're watching, it's safeandsoundschools.org, an amazing organization that is helping to empower entire communities to really have what we all care about so much, is safer schools and sound mind and body, and within those. What are some wins? Like, you've been working really hard, and Alyssa,
right. We're coming up for air now.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. It's a good time to stop, reorganize, take stock, and so I think you will see that in us this year. Just kind of taking the foot off the gas for a moment, just to kind of reorganize. Our team has grown enormously. Our expert team is all over the country. So yeah, it's time to just kind of take stock a little bit and look at how we can redirect and better reach out and communicate. You can't always have your nose to the grindstone. You have to have time for these conversations.
So I love this. It's symbolic of just your character, and that I was really basically just asking you to brag, and instead you refocus to we have work to do.
I know, right?
But if you can take a moment, is there like, is there something that you've seen unfold because of your hard, like, this district implemented
yeah.
this,
Oh.
or like,
just the wins are, it's
nuggetize for me.
I am nuggetize. That's our word for the day.
Nuggetize.
Nuggetize. Yeah, no, just seeing people grab the low-hanging fruit, to rethink their pick-up and drop-off procedures,
Yes.
How they communicate emergency, the language that they're using to prepare students and staff. Really, when we first started this mission, we would see a lot of people kind of go rogue, like we have to do something, we have to do it quickly. There's this knee-jerk reaction, and so as a result, things were done that were sometimes not really all that safe,
Messy.
or made people feel scared, or were problematic. So we're seeing people do it together and, check with each other. Police working with mental health, working with school folks, working with parents. Those are huge, huge wins. And that's where we see our school communities really moving the needle for school safety.
That's amazing. Do you feel comfortable talking about your experience with BARC? Like any thoughts you might have about it, something that just anything you want to share about, what we're doing as a company?
So we love the very practical, simple application. I think you'll see that most of what we try to bring to school communities is take something very high level and boil it down. And I think that's something that we value about the solutions that you're providing to our school communities. It's taking something that's really kind of hairy and scary and new. We were just talking about, we've only really had smartphones in our hands for about 10 years, and it's now the Wild West, and so there's a lot to consider. The impact of safety, just from this new revolution that we have in our hands. It's mind-boggling. Yeah. So to be able to kind of rein that in a little bit and give people the safe lanes to operate in, to put some power back in the hands of parents, of school leadership, of safety professionals in the community, and of students. I mean, to see how empowering, how confident, how involved students are when they have a tool that they can communicate with, that they can pitch in to school safety is incredibly important.
That's great, and that's why we're here. That's why we do what we do. And so for anybody who's watching and will watch when they're not in the middle of 7 million things,
right,
like we all are.
I know.
Key takeaways. One is visit safeandsoundschools.org. Support them. Two, talk to your children in an age-appropriate way, just around.
And you can find guidance for that on our website, and there'll be lots more to come as we build out our parent resources.
But those conversations are key.
Essential.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to talk about just how to avoid danger.
Oh, because they're already having these conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And talk to your community, talk to your schools, your administrators, your school resource officers. If you're struggling in any way, shape, or form with anxiety or depression, or you think your child might be, you're not alone. They're not alone. They're not the only child that's going through this. It's on the rise. Please speak up and get help.
I think that's a key point, is that you're not alone. And I think that's what makes people not reach out, is this, I'm the only one, and there's shame about. There's not.
We've got to work to remove the stigma behind mental health issues. If you have a headache, you take Advil. If you're having a panic attack, there are things for that as well.
Yes,
so I might know something about that.
Me too. You're not alone.
I'm not alone. See, I already feel so much better.
I know. But if you don't say something about it, then you're never gonna know.
No.
You don't have that shared experience, and that is so fortifying.
Yes.
To know that you're not alone.
Yes, that's true. Well, Michele Gay, thank you so much. Thank you to Alyssa and to Rania and to everybody who's part of the Safe and Sound Schools mission. Thank you to our team at BARC, and thank you to all of the parents and media outlets and schools and first responders. Just thank you. We really can make big strides together. We can keep this generation of children safer, but we have to talk to each other and we have to work together. So Thank you all. Please continue to comment and like and share. Let's spread the word about safe and sound schools. And thank you so much,
Thank you.
Michele.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us.